The first months of marriage felt like a fairy tale. Liana and Emil went to work together in the mornings, came home tired, but smiling. Their small apartment in a quiet neighborhood of Langkoren wasn't luxurious, but it was warm, full of laughter, shared dinners, soft kisses in the kitchen. Every morning, Liana made coffee. Emil would move her hair gently from her shoulder, kiss her forehead and whisper, "You are my home," and she believed it. Time passes. 3 years went by. On the outside, everything looked perfect, but slowly, questions began to grow. One afternoon, Kansu arrived unannounced. Emil was at work. Liana was alone in the kitchen. Kansu sat down, took a sip of tea, looked at her calmly. "Liana, I want to ask you something. Don't misunderstand me." Liana nodded politely. "It's been years. Have you thought about having a child? Or is there a problem?" The cup in Liana's hand trembled. She closed her eyes briefly. "We are doctors," she answered softly, "but we are not the owners of destiny." Kansu didn't argue, but disappointment was written across her face. That night when Emil came home, Liana couldn't smile. She told him everything. He listened in silence, then placed his hand over hers. "I didn't marry you because you would become a mother," he said firmly. "I married you because you are you." A pause. "If there is a battle ahead, we fight it together." Liana broke down in his arms, and in that silence, their hearts held each other tighter than words ever could. The pressure, phone calls, family visits. The same question repeated gently, but constantly. "So, any good news?" Liana kept smiling, but at night, she grew quieter. Something inside her was changing. A fear, a pressure, a silent storm. The waiting room of the maternity department felt colder than usual. Liana and Emil sat side by side, their fingers touching, neither speaking. Inside her, a hurricane. She was a doctor. She knew the procedures, the tests, the statistics, but she was also a woman, and she was afraid. Dr. Nasli greeted them warmly. She had studied with Liana years ago. Kind, professional. "This is a journey," Nasli said gently, "sometimes short, sometimes long, but not impossible." Blood tests, hormone panels, ultrasound. Days turned into weeks. Hope became fragile. One night, Emil woke up and found Liana standing by the window, crying silently. "Liana," she didn't turn around. "Sometimes I feel incomplete," she whispered. "If I can't give you a child." Emil walked toward her, knelt in front of her, lifted her chin. "If you ever say that again," he said, voice shaking, "you hurt me more than yourself." He pressed his forehead against hers. "You are not half of anything. You are my whole life." Her tears didn't stop, but something inside her stood back up. The results a few days later. They sat in Nasli's office. The file remained closed for a moment too long. Nasli inhaled carefully. "Liana, the results show that your chances of conceiving naturally are very low." Silence. Something shattered inside her. Emil tightened his grip on her hand, as if saying, "Don't fall." "I'm here," Nasli continued. "But," she paused, "with careful treatment, there is still hope." Emil spoke immediately. "If there is hope, we stay." He looked at Liana. Together. The storm had begun, but so had their fight. After the hospital results, Liana and Emil held on to each other more tightly than ever. They refused to let hope die. But outside their small apartment in Langkoren, another storm was rising. For Kansu, this was no longer just a medical issue. In her eyes, it was about legacy, about family honor, about the future of their name. One evening, Emil came home late. Liana was in the kitchen preparing dinner. Kansu sat in the living room in heavy silence. The moment Emil stepped inside, she stood up. "Emil, we need to talk." He looked at her carefully. "Of course, mother." Without taking her eyes off Liana, she spoke firmly. "This situation, the child issue, the family is starting to talk. What do you say? What do the elders think?" Emil shook his head slowly, but his voice was steady. "We love each other. We are together in this. Liana is half of my life. I'm proud of her." Kansu remained silent for a moment. "Words are beautiful," she said quietly, "but reality is different." Liana had heard everything from the kitchen. Her chest burned. She was angry, hurt, but more than anything, She didn't want to lose Emil. That night, when they lay in bed, Emil reached for her hand. "Love is the strongest power," he whispered. "No matter what anyone says, we are one." Liana closed her eyes, and for a moment, she felt strong again. The pressure didn't disappear, it changed shape. It became heavier, but quieter. One night, when Liana and Emil came home, Kansu was already there, sitting on the couch, the TV on. But her eyes locked on the door. "Liana, sit with me for a minute." Emil froze. Liana slowly sat down. Kansu took a deep breath. This time her voice wasn't sharp, it was tired. "Listen, my daughter," she paused. "Once, I was a woman who longed to become a mother. I had 2 miscarriages. I thought I would never hold a child. Then, God gave me Emil." Silence filled the room. "That's why I want him to become a father. I was harsh with you. It's not easy to admit that." Liana lowered her gaze. "You are not a bad wife," Kansu continued softly. "You are calm, strong, patient." Her eyes grew moist. "A family without a child is not broken, a family without love is." Liana looked up, stunned. For the first time, Kansu wasn't speaking from pride, she was speaking from pain and from love. The morning after, the atmosphere in the house felt different. Kansu helped Liana in the kitchen. They made coffee together, cut bread together, small gestures, but powerful ones. Emil watched from the window, his heart lighter than it had been in months. Liana looked at him and smiled. "Everything can change, Emil," she whispered, "with time, and with love." And then, the phone rang. It was the doctor. A new treatment option, more difficult, more demanding, but with a higher chance of success. Liana and Emil looked at each other, fear, hope, determination, and at the same time, they both said, "We're ready." A new treatment had begun. Every morning before sunrise, Liana went to the clinic. Injections, hormone therapy, endless medications. She started tying her hair tighter. Her eyes were tired, but inside them, a light refused to go out. Every morning, Emil held her hand and whispered, "Good morning," not just to you, but to our future child. Week 3, the test day. At the end of the 3rd week, they went in for the test. When they left the hospital, they didn't speak, didn't smile. They just walked silently through the streets of Langkoren, hand in hand. Liana looked toward the distant Talysh Mountains. "If I ever become a mother," she said softly, "our baby's eyes will look at you first." 14:48 p.m. The call, her phone rang. "Dr. Nasli." "Liana, we have a result." Silence. "This time, the test is positive." Liana's voice trembled. "So, I'm pregnant?" "Yes." "It's very early. But, it's a beginning." The phone slipped from her hand. Tears streamed down her face. She turned to Emil, almost breathless. "Emil, we're going to be parents. I'm going to be a mother." That night, in the quiet darkness of their living room, they sat under the same blanket, heart still unable to fully believe it. Emil placed his hand gently on her stomach. "You're carrying my faith, my life, and now our future." Liana whispered, "This is the answer to our silent prayers." The news brought spring early to their home. For the first time, Kansu embraced Liana tightly. "My daughter, I was unfair to you. But you brought strength to my son and light into this house. May God give you double patience, and now double joy." A few weeks later, ultrasound. In the examination room, Dr. Nasli smiled at the screen. "Look carefully." She paused. "There's one heartbeat." Emil held his breath. "And another one." Liana's eyes filled with tears. "Doctor, does that mean congratulations?" she said warmly. "You're expecting twins." That night, Liana stood on the balcony. The Talysh Mountains rose quietly in the distance, majestic and still. Emil wrapped his arms around her. "You're carrying 2 lives," he whispered. "You're not just a mother, you're a miracle." This time, her tears carried no fear, only gratitude. The pregnancy, it wasn't easy. Fatigue, nausea, sleepless nights. But every morning, Emil's eyes gave her strength. And every day, Kansu came with soup, with care, with quiet repentance. She didn't apologize with words anymore. She apologized with love. 7 months later, the night of 03/17, everything was silent. Until 3:17 a.m., the contractions began. Emil rushed her to the hospital in Langkoren. Inside the delivery room, Liana closed her eyes. She remembered the struggle, the tears. The nights filled with prayer. At 5:04, the first cry filled the room. At 5:06, the second miracle followed. The doctor smiled at Emil, a girl, and a boy. Emil couldn't speak, he just cried. The next day, Liana looked at her babies beside her. Her eyes were wet, but her smile was peaceful. "What should we name them?" she whispered. Emil thought for a moment. "Our son will be Umit, because hope protected us. And our daughter," Liana said softly, "Elif, because she was the beginning of everything." She held them close. 2 heartbeats, 2 answers, 2 miracles. Months later, the house was full. Laughter, milk bottles, tiny clothes everywhere. They were no longer just a couple, they were a family. Every morning, Kansu kissed the babies and said, "You are God's forgiveness to me." Final scene on the balcony. Liana held both babies in her arms. Emil brought tea. Behind them, the mountains stood silently, as if they had witnessed every tear, every prayer, every storm. Liana whispered, "Waiting for a miracle was worth it." Emil smiled. "Because you are the miracle." If you're curious about the rest of the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Leaving a like or a comment really helps these stories reach more people. Thank you to everyone watching from Turkey, Germany, and Azerbaijan. I'll see you in the next story.